Hi everyone, my name's Burgess and I make watercolor painting tutorial videos and demonstrations. But I'm not really keen about today's tutorial. It was actually meant to be a simple watercolor snow scene designed for the beginner and of course for anybody else who wants to get back into painting after a long break, or somebody who just wants some new techniques or just some inspiration. Now, usually when I'm recording, I'm really in the zone and I really want to paint and really want to impart my whatever skills I might have. But on this particular occasion, I really wasn't in the zone at all. My mind was completely distracted. I'd had quite a trying 3 to 4 weeks prior to this painting, and it took a lot of energy away from me. And so I really wasn't, my mind just wasn't on it. It was completely distracted. Now, my last painting that went up, the last tutorial that went up, was a woodland walk painting. And I should admit that that painting was recorded at least 4 weeks before I recorded this one that I'm about to show you. So you could say that there was a 3, 4 weeks gap when I wasn't painting at all. And as a result, I think that I completely forgot how to paint. It's not like riding a bike, where once you know how to ride a bike, you know how to ride a bike and you'll never forget it. Painting is all about practice. So I was completely out of practice and I'd forgotten so many of the basic skills that I had sort of acquired over the years while I was painting. But I wasn't actually going to share it with you because it was a complete disaster, and the sky wasn't how I wanted it, the water wasn't how I wanted it. I mean, after all, it's a simple snow scene. One would think it was easy, but it wasn't. But then I thought, why not share it? And so I'm going to share. So today's video is going to be in two parts. Part one is this painting that you're about to see, and then there's a second part where I try to fix it. And I don't know whether I fixed it. I'm still not happy with it. But so let's have a look at that, shall we? And we'll have a chat afterwards. Hi everyone, it's Burgess, and today I thought I'd paint another snow scene, but this time a bit more simpler than the last one. For this video, for this painting, I'm going to be using the Stephen Coates medium Hake. I'm going to be using his medium dagger, Terry Harrison's special effects design brush, and it's a foliage brush which I'm going to be using for some of the foliage along here, and I'm going to be using a small generic round brush. I've got 300 grams watercolor paper, which is the rough surface and is by Hanmoulet. So the first thing I did was to wet down the sky and the river with the Hake, but any large brush would do the job as well. But as soon as I put down the first colour in the sky, it started to look bad. I don't know why I picked up orange, and then yellow ochre, which should have been the first colour I put down. And to be honest, I shouldn't even have used orange in the first place. Then I went in with ultramarine blue. But to make matters worse, I added a darker orange, thinking the first shade I'd used wasn't strong enough. Then for some reason, I went in with burnt sienna. In all this chaotic mix, I'd completely forgotten about Payne's Grey, which I should have used to add depth and drama, which is really what I was aiming for. After that, I just continued adding more and more of the bright oranges, hoping to get that glow in the sky. But instead of the glow, it started to look messier and messier. In fact, I should have started with yellow ochre, followed by lots of light red, and then Payne's Grey for the drama. For the trees on the right, I used a mix of burnt sienna and ultramarine blue because I wanted them to be a very deep brown. But when they dried, they also looked too pale. And while the water was still damp, or I thought it was, I thought, don't forget to add the reflections of the right-hand trees. But the tops of the reflections started to get hard edges because, as I discovered, the water had already begun to dry. I then tried to scrape out trunks on the right-hand group of trees, but the paper was starting to tear. Now remember, this was the hand moulé paper, by the way, and the paint was still too runny. At this point, I just gave up on the trees. For the tree behind the building, I decided to use burnt umber and my new Stephen Coates dagger brush, and I was okay with the way the tree turned out. For the tree in the foreground, I used a mix of burnt umber and ultramarine blue, and I thought that turned out okay too. For the house, I used a mix of cobalt blue and Payne's grey to get a slate grey colour for the roof. And I used yellow ochre for the walls, but I think I painted the walls in too soon because the slate grey started running into the yellow ochre of the wall, creating another mess. So by this time, I'd lost interest in the painting because it wasn't what I had in mind and just tried to finish it off as quickly as possible. I knew at this stage that the painting couldn't really be saved. As you can see, that painting was a complete failure. It was a complete mess. Just the whole. I don't know whether it came across on camera that I was just doing whatever paints I could get hold of for some reason. I don't know why. It was just weird. It was the whole process was really really weird. And as I said, I wasn't going to share it with you. I mean, you can see the sky is not what I was hoping for. I had a different image in my mind for the sky, and I had this image that drama in the sky would be, or the surrealness of the sky would be reflected in the water. So that's not what happened. So as I said, I wasn't going to show it to you. But then I had this thought that, what if I re-wet the whole paper or parts of it and put in the colors that I was hoping I would put in, redo some of the areas. So, like the sky and the water specifically, especially those parts. So in this second part, you'll see me trying to fix the painting. Do have a look, but I would like to warn you a little bit that the microphone I picked up during the recording, it was a sort of a wired microphone, and it didn't work. So sometimes if you hear me speaking and it's really low, it's because the microphone didn't pick it up. This one that I'm using wasn't charged and it was taking too long to charge, so I had to pick up the next best thing and it just didn't. So I've put text on the screen so you can see the colors that I'm putting down. So let's take a look at that and we'll chat again. Okay, the first thing I'm going to try and do is to try and remove some of this paint here. The other thing I want to do now is to wet the sky again, because obviously I've forgotten how to paint sky, so I'm going to wet the sky again. This is it's not going to lift anything now because everything else is pre-dried. So I'm going to wet that. Now I'm not worried about the border anymore, I don't care. And let's put that in, and we'll put it down on the trees as well here, all the trees here. And I'm going to put it all the way here in the center, make it a bit more intense. Take some Payne's grey . Wet the water area. Let's use the Winsor & Newton. after that second failure in the fixing process. um, you know what? I'm still unhappy with it. I'm quite despondent, actually, and very, very demotivated at the moment. That painting was a complete disaster, and the sky still wasn't what I was hoping for. Yes, I needed to use the Payne's grey, but after wetting the sky, it still didn't go on the way I had hoped it would. In my previous videos, it has gone on really well, and the water was, and the house. I mean, look at that house. That's the word is horrid. I think the only word I can use to describe it is horrid, and it's actually horrid. Um, so yeah, that's not, or rather, no, that's not what I was hoping for. Do you know what? At the end of every video, I usually say, "Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe." And I'm not going to ask you to like or even subscribe, because if I was you, I wouldn't like and subscribe. I wouldn't do it either. But I, I'm sure you'd have got a lot to say. I hope you've got a lot to say, because I'd like your feedback. There's a comment section. Leave your thoughts, leave your comments, and I hope to see you in my next video, when I hope that my next painting will not be a disaster, and it'll be more to my liking as well. Thank you very much for watching, and I hope to see you soon.